Continuing with our Guerlain series, today we're going to talk about one of their most iconic fragrances, Shalimar. This perfume was originally created in 1921 and then it was re-released in 1925 at the Paris Art Deco exhibition. And just look at that Baccarat bottle. So Jacques Guerlain, the nephew that we talked about in the Guerlain Part 2 video, is the creator of some of Guerlain's most legendary fragrances, including Mitsuko, Shalimar, and then the one that I talked about in the Titanic video, La Air Bleu. But Shalimar stands out for a few reasons. It is credited with being one of the first in the category of ambery fragrances. And I want to note here that from about the 1920s up until recently, this category was known as Oriental. That is a word that we are trying to move away from in perfumery. We don't want to use that word because it is racist. Just a note, not calling it the O word anymore. Ambery now is the preferred term. And if you want to learn more about the movement to decolonize scent, I encourage you to follow Oda Yosh. I have tagged her below. Back to Shalimar though, the legend goes that Jacques Guerlain was playing around with the brand new ethyl vanillin molecule, which is a synthetic vanilla, and it was a cutting-edge material at the time. He overloaded a bottle of his uncle's creation, Jiki, that we talked about in the last Guerlain video, with that ethyl vanillin molecule, and that is how we ended up with Shalimar. Now, the name Shalimar means Temple of Love in Sanskrit, and it's based on the love story of the Shah that actually built the Taj Mahal. His beloved wife and empress loved the gardens of Shalimar, so that's where they got the name. It's a bit of an appropriation and a little bit racist, especially when you look at some of these ads from the 1920s and the 1930s particularly. Not great. Now, there were some legal battles around the name Shalimar because other companies saw the wild success of this perfume and wanted to call their own products that. Berries in particular was a problem for Guerlain. So for a while, the UK bottles of Shalimar were actually renamed to number 90. Now, of note, Shalimar was extremely popular in the United States. Legend goes that Madame Guerlain was wearing it on the ship crossing over to America, and all of the passengers were just losing their mind over this perfume. It was also the perfume of choice for flappers, and some celebrities that are said to have worn Shalimar. Rita Hayworth, although I don't think I see Shalimar on this table, but I do see a Schiaparelli, which get excited because we're going to talk about them next. Also Louise Brooks, who was a silent era movie star, Brigitte Bardot, and my favorite, Frida Kahlo. Right there you can see that's Frida Kahlo's actual bottle of Shalimar, and they found it in a room that they had unsealed, I want to say 15 to 20 years ago. And you can watch my video on Frida Kahlo if you want to learn more. She was a frag head, as you can see from all of her perfume bottles. I actually have two vintages of Shalimar. First, I've got a little decant sample from the 1950s, and then I also have a little perfume pocket watch of Shalimar, and if you're interested in the little perfume pocket watches, just check the playlist because I have a video on those too. So I'm spritzing 1950s on this arm, and then 1990s on this one. Oop. All right, so 1950s, I get really strong civet, some bergamot, some tonka. And then 1990s, very strong violet and some vanilla. This one is very powdery to me. The vintage definitely smells better. Overall though, I'm not a big fan of Shalimar. I can see why it was novel when it came out, but now I think we just have so many better ambery fragrances. But you can still find vintage Shalimar, and the darker the liquid, the better it's going to smell. Also of note, there's a couple of fun pop culture references to Shalimar. First, in the song by Johnny Cash, 40 Shades of Green, the breeze was as sweet as Shalimar. Then Joan from the TV show Mad Men, she wore Shalimar. And then in The Sopranos, Junior Soprano mentioned sending bottles of Shalimar to France. So lots of cultural impact. Let me know if you're interested in more Guerlain history. We're going to be doing a series on Schiaparelli next, so stay tuned.